Here in Zone 10A, it's January, so it's planting time for us here. We can plant a variety of crops that will grow up through the spring and give us fresh vegetables. I'm now changing up my container garden a little bit, so let's see what I'm gonna do. That was my workout today. All right, as you can see, I got my stock containers in my dirt home. They've been sitting here for a couple of weeks, but now I'm gonna get them cleaned out. We'll drill some holes in the bottom and start getting some of the dirt and the soil in there. I'm also gonna be transplanting some of the stuff that I have in those smaller containers into here so that I can start getting my stock containers all filled up for my garden. So as you can see here, I already used these stock containers in my garden. I have 3 of them right here in this area. But I'll show you a section where I'm not using that. Let's take a look at that. So as you can see over here in this part of my garden, I'm just using these like plastic containers that I had left over from an apartment when I was trying to do some apartment gardening. But now that I have some space, I want to make it a little bit bigger and I want to bring more stock containers in so I can try to grow more vegetables. So let's pull that together. You can see in the current garden, I have these sitting up on some cinder blocks. And it's for a couple of reasons. One is to make it a little bit higher so I don't have to bend down so low. I did not use the really deep stock containers on this, but it also allows for aeration so I don't get mold underneath. I use the shorter stock containers for my garden because with the larger, deeper ones, I tend to just put a bunch of fill in the bottom and they take up just a lot of space, and my container garden doesn't need that much fill. These are about 12 inches tall by 24 inches wide and 44 inches long, and I am going to fill that with compost and soil because my garden's going to need all of that to really grow and thrive. You can do whatever you want, but I use the shorter stock containers for my container garden. I also find that these smaller ones are easier for me to handle than the larger ones. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have a drill bit that's made from metal. These are made from metal. If you don't use that, you're not going to get through drilling a hole in these metal containers, so make sure you have that. The next thing you want to do is start with one of your smaller drill bits, because if you start with the large one, it's going to be really hard and it may not go through and it just take too long. So start with a smaller one and drill pilot holes with this. You also want to make sure that your drill is set to the highest setting on drill because you're going to need that power to drill through this metal. Also, I wouldn't do this with kids or pets around. These little filings kind of fly, and make sure you're using some sort of safety glasses or something when you're doing this, so if something were to fly up and hit you in the face, you'll be protected with these. I'm going to start off by putting about 20 of these pilot holes in the bottom of my tank. Now you might be thinking, why not just stick with a bunch of little holes? Well, they do tend to get clogged up and that causes water to build up inside the tank. So I would really put a larger hole. I would use, I think I'm using a 1/2 inch drill bit or a 5/8 drill bit for the holes because I want to make sure I'm going to get good drainage in these stock containers. All right, now I've drilled all my smaller holes, and now I'm going to increase those holes by using a 3/16 inch drill bit. Again, make sure it's in really tight. You're going to want to use both hands because this thing is going to want to pull when it gets into this metal. So if you don't, it might jerk you around. Make sure you're using both hands to drill into this. You can see it's leaving me with some pretty sharp little shards. Don't go using your hand to brush it. Get a brush and sweep them away because these can be really sharp. You also need to be careful of things like this. These are very sharp, so be careful when you're planting or doing anything in here. You might even want to take a file and file that off, but they will be very, very sharp. Okay, so the inside of this is as sharp as a cheese grater. So like, don't go rubbing your hands in here or letting your kids be in here or anything like that. These are very sharp pieces. You can take a file and file them down if you want. I'm not gonna do that because I'm just gonna throw some dirt and stuff in here, but please be careful when you're digging things back up later. All of these things are very sharp. I'm using some of these concrete raised bed board holders because it's what I had around, but you can use concrete block as well, or wood if you prefer. Here I'm making sure the spacing is right because I want to get this in place before I start laying all the concrete block. I want to make sure that I have enough space between my containers that I can easily walk around them so that when I'm weeding or working on any irrigation, I don't feel like I'm encumbered. I'm also moving some of the irrigation tubing so that it's not stuck underneath the tanks where it will be hard for me to get to later if I need to fix anything. Next, I'm just trying to level everything out to make it as level as possible. It's not going to be perfect, but I just want to make sure that my tanks aren't leaning to one side. I use 6 of these raised bed concrete blocks per tank, 3 on each side. Okay, so now I have my stock containers on these concrete blocks. It'll help aerate it and lift it up a little bit higher so it makes it a little bit easier for me to work in the garden. Now I'm going to add this garden like weed block stuff to the bottom, and that's just to keep the soil from escaping out of the holes and leaking out all over the place. Just want to put a little bit on the bottom. You can use scrap pieces or whole pieces like this and just layer that on the bottom before you put in your soil. But remember, there's that sharp stuff in there. Just be careful. If you didn't file it, don't go spreading your hands around it. Just lay the stuff in the bottom. So I'm just going to lay this stuff in the bottom. Doesn't have to fit perfect. Just wanted to cover most of the holes, if not all of them. So as you can see here, I have most of it covered on the bottom. Now I can add my soil. Now I did buy bags of soil to put in here, but I'm going to take all of the stuff from the containers that I had and put those in first and let those fill up most of the bottom, and then I'll fill it up with the soil, which is the Kellogg's raised bed potting mix, and put that on top. All right, I have all of that leftover soil from the containers in here. Now I'm going to just start adding my raised bed potting mix. I don't know what it is about the feel of just dirt in my hands. I'm not a gloves person. I like to feel the dirt. If you're starting from scratch, you're going to need about 4 bags per container of raised bed potting soil. And that's it. Now these 2 beds are in here solid. They're not going anywhere. They're full of good soil. And now all I have to do is plant, put in my irrigation that's really already lined up back there, and I'm ready for a vegetable garden. So now all of my gardening are in these stock barrels, and it'll be easier to irrigate and maintain. All right, I am done for the day. Pooped, but I got my 2 stock containers up that I wanted to get in. I think they're going to look really nice with the rest of the containers that I have in the garden. This is a great way to garden if you're renting. This is something that if you don't want to tear up someone's yard, you can do this and take it with you when you leave. Or if you just don't want to tear up your yard at all and you'd rather just have a container garden, let's say you have a patio and you don't have room or grass or dirt, this is another option for you to grow vegetables that will help supplement you buying vegetables from the store. I have grown a variety of vegetables here and they all turn out great in these stock containers. I hope you give it a try. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos, please hit the subscribe button. Until the next time, get outside, grow your own food, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Did I step in dog poop again? Oh, God. I use the Hello? The next thing you want to do is start with one of your smaller drill bits. Over here. Over here. The next thing you want to... I can read without glasses. Now I'm going to use this 3/16 inch built drill bit. I can talk. Here in zone. Bleh.